We're going to talk about a subject that is absolutely essential for every franchise dealer in the world, every independent dealer in the world, any business in the world. Google rules, and if you're not in the top 10 in Google, preferably the top 2 or 3, you don't exist. So I'm going to introduce you to my good friend. I think we got 15 years invested in this friendship. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to George Nenni. Hello, George.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
Best day of my entire life. I'm excited about it. Now I'm talking to you, and I've known you and your spouse and vicariously your children for 15 years.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah. Well, tell me, George. Google My Business. I hear so much about it, and what does it mean to the dealers? Why would they care?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great place to start. Google My Business, I like to refer to it as the dealer's most important secondary website. And it's really grown to be even more than that. 100% of the time that you Google any business name or any dealership name, their Google My Business listing appears at the top of search or on the right-hand panel of search. And so because of that, it's critically important, right?
Well, does the dealer have to manually put this in, or is just something Google automatically does for them?
For the most part, Google automatically does this for them. So for every dealer across the country, they at least have one basic listing.
Okay, they've got a basic Google My Business listing, so that's going to get them right in the top 2 or 3, right?
For their name, it should get them number one. Number one
for their name. For their name. Okay, yeah. That was a loaded question. Okay, what does a dealer have to do to get? Because right now we got a bunch of vendors stealing our customers and selling them back to us. If you go to Google in almost any category, and Google rules. I mean, Bing, Yahoo, I don't care. Google, attribution. No, Google. Excuse me. Google rules. So if you're not in the top 2 or 3, and what do you find? Car gurus. You're going to find Auto Trader. You're going to find TrueCar. You're going to find all these usurpers that have inserted themselves between you and your retail customers that will buy regardless of whether they existed or not.
You're right.
How does a dealer who owns the franchise or owns the car lot, how do you get at the top of the rankings?
Yep, that's a great question. So, and you see that. So all the Auto Trader, Cars.com, Auto.com, Car Gurus are all over page 1 for dealer names, and that's a challenge. The dealership's own website should score on page 1 if they've done all the good technical SEO work on their website. It should be one of those ranking sites. But more importantly, Google increasingly is showing the Google My Business listing whenever it thinks that the searcher is looking for a business. So if you say, delicatessen near me, Google says, looking for a business, it will return, the map view as well as all the normal organic listings.
Fantastic. Well, what can you do to improve your position? What can you do to get your search results, your SEO up, search engine optimization? Okay. And this is a form of search engine marketing. How do you do that?
Sure, it's a great question. So first of all, showing up for your name, Google takes care of that. That's not really what winning looks like on Google My Business. Winning on Google My Business is winning on non-branded category search. So not Nenni Chevrolet, but Chevy dealer near me, or auto repair near me, tire service near me. It's those non-branded category searches that the dealer really needs to obsess with winning. And you mentioned the local pack, the 3 map results. Whenever Google thinks you're looking for a business, if you do a category search in your market and you're not in one of those map results, then you need to look real hard at your Google My Business listing and try to get that optimized so that you do show up.
Okay, so you're the founder of Generations Digital. You're a consulting service that works with a lot of dealers, and Google My Business. You've actually written a book.
We have.
I am so impressed.
Yeah, we wrote a book and published it last February. The second edition came out a month or so ago, and really it's a how-to guide. It's full color, full screenshots. It just steps dealers through exactly the steps they need to take to win on Google My Business. And the best piece of news is, one, it's free. Two, the work is really easy. I mean, it's not real technical and no programming needed. I mean, you go through this book, you check the boxes, you fill in the information. And of course, you also create listings for not only your main listing, but also for service, parts, and body shop.
Wait a second. Just slow down a second. You can get a Google My Listing separate for the 4 main profit centers of your dealership as if they were separate businesses?
You can, and you should.
Oh. Okay, hang on a second. I got your book on the screen, and I read the book. I have a copy of it. I've got a signed copy and my utility copy. Google My Business, a car dealer's guide to Google My Business. Go to Amazon and buy this book if you want to really see your business increase. I'm going to give you a monster plug here because this is the best layman's guide with pictures, graphics, how to do it. I mean, I am just absolutely impressed that you have published this book.
Thank you.
So anyway, you can have all 4 of your profit centers as separate businesses with their own Google My Business listing.
That is correct. And I bet you there's some viewers to this video who may say to themselves, Jim, I don't want to do that. I think I don't need those extra listings. I think we just need 1 listing. And I can give the listeners and the viewers a perfect example that will help answer why that's bad advice. Why there's
a good reason for it.
There's a good reason for it. So if you're watching this broadcast, go to Google and search for bakery near me, or search for pharmacy near me, or search for deli near me. And what you'll find out is that Walmart shows up, Kroger shows up on their department Google My Business listing. So I discovered this back in February, and it really blew me away. I was looking at Lowe's and Home Depot and Walmart's Google My Business, and they have a dozen department listings for all the big box retailers. And I thought to myself, well, why in the world would they do that? So I started doing those searches. In my hometown, we've got a couple bakeries that have been around for 100 years. They're wonderful bakeries, the best donuts in town. But if you search bakery near me, Walmart's right there, right? Kroger's is right there.
Because they've itemized their separate departments as with their own Google My Business listings.
That's right.
Okay, well, first of all, how does somebody find Google My Business? Where is it?
You just Google it. Just go into Google and type Google My Business, and it'll be the #1 listing. I think it's business.google.com. I can look up that. That's a good question. I've got it all bookmarked. But if you just Google it, you'll find it. It's part of your overall Google account, right? So
that's where I was headed with this. Sometimes I ask questions to which I know the answers. Okay, now if you got a dealer out there, where do they see their Google My Business? Where do they find how to put things into it? Well, how do they find how to add to it?
Good question. So if they haven't taken ownership of it already, just go to Google, search for your business name. Your Google My Business will pull up on the right-hand side, and it will have a little link that will say own this business with a question mark. And they click on that. They'll take them through an authentication process where you fill out you'll get a postcard in the mail with a code. You enter that code and you're in. You got the admin section, and you go in and start making changes.
Okay, so you get an admin section. And what kind of questions does it ask?
It starts off really basic. So it will ask you to verify the name and the address, of course, phone numbers, hours of operation. Most importantly, it'll talk about categories. Categories are one of the #1 signal that Google will use in order to display a business for various search terms.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of it, it goes pretty deep. You can upload photos. You can have photos of the inside or the outside of your dealership, videos, business description. Your why buy you want to include in there. There's a whole host of things. You can do regular posts. You can have product outlines. Google has been improving this interface significantly over the last couple of years.
Exactly. So, what kind of questions are they going to ask you about your business? How can you increase your possibilities?
Sure. So I would say, when we look at ranking factors on Google My Business, the #1 ranking factor is the name, the business name. And so that's typically going to be the dealership name. You want to watch out for dealerships who may be trying to spam the name by putting additional categories in there. So instead of Nenni Chevrolet, what if they were to put Nenni Chevrolet, new cars, used cars, financing, bankruptcy, and stuff the name of the dealership with keywords? Unfortunately, that will work for them unless they get reported, and then you'll get your account suspended. So You want to be careful there. And then categories are something you can do, as many categories that are appropriate for you, and those will also have really good signals. The final piece, Jim, is reviews. So for dealerships who are soliciting reviews, keywords in reviews are one of the top signal getters as well. So, if someone's going to leave you a review, Jim, and they ask you, hey, what kind of stuff do you want me to include? Tell them to say, what service did you buy? If you got oil change or brake repair, or if you bought a new F-150, trim level, whatever it is, talk about what you bought, talk about what service you got, use the word best, use the word service. Those keywords are indexed in a very large way from Google search.
Okay, well, how do you know what your competitors are doing versus what you're doing? I mean, do you want to be identical to what your competitors put in?
I think you want to pay attention to the competitors that are beating you. So when you go out and you're doing some test Google searches, again, non-branded, don't search for your name because you're always going to appear. But when you're searching for non-branded, Chevy dealer near me, Camaro brake repair, Camaro tire replacement, whatever it is, look and see who's appearing on that 3 map pack, the search results. And then if you have someone who's beating you, you can look at their reviews. Google will sometimes give you signals. They'll show you highlighted words on that listing of why they've been appearing. You can also use our new GMB Spy. So we wrote a spy tool that allows dealers to look at their competitor categories.
Well, I was hoping you would get to that. I've been feeding you some softballs, and you're striking out. Okay. Okay. GMB Spy. Tell us about GMB Spy.
Yeah, so GMB Spy, we discovered in January, February of this year that the categories in Google My Business are actually in the HTML. If you right click and you do a find and you go through all this code, you can find the categories. So we saw that, we thought, well, that's wonderful, but it just takes too darn long. So we hired a development company and had them write a Chrome extension. So a Chrome extension is just a little widget that lives in the Chrome browser, and it automatically sniffs the categories for any dealership or any business, so you can see what categories they've chosen. So if maybe they're beating you, maybe you've got the wrong primary category, or maybe you're missing some secondary categories that your competitor has.
Well, how can somebody get GMB Spy?
You just go to, you got to get a Chrome browser and then go to the Chrome store. So just go to Google and search for the Chrome store. You could also just go to Google and search for GMB Spy. That stands for Google My Business and then Spy, no spaces. And the first selection will be the Chrome stores. And you just download it. It's a free download. And you just start to use it. You go into Google Maps, find a Google listing you want to look at, go up and fire up the GMB Spy, and it will.
Wait a minute, it's free?
It's free.
Man, free.
It can't be free.
Now I'm a little shocked. You developed this incredible widget and then you're not selling it. That's amazing.
Yeah, we thought to ourselves, hey, it has value, but it's not a huge amount of value. And you could go and you could search in HTML if you wanted and find it. It's just a time saver. We originally wrote it for ourselves. We thought some of our automotive friends would find use for it, and they did. But we were shocked that the SEO community, especially in Canada and Europe, just went crazy over this tool. And so now, we've got approaching 3,000 weekly users. Only about 1,000 of them are from the US. So very strong in Europe and in Australia and in Canada. And we're flattered, right? So we're glad more people are.
And what's the widget called again?
It's GMB. So that stands for Google My Business. And then the word Spy.
GMB Spy.
That's it, GMB Spy.
And that is absolutely amazing. So tell me some more about Google My Business tricks. I want the hacks.
Sure. The hacks, the biggest hack, as I said, is jimmying around with the business name. I don't recommend that, because if you got penalized, being suspended on Google would be a nightmare for a dealer.
Well, I'm looking for a legal, upright, ethical hack.
Yep. So if a dealer doesn't have separate service, parts, and body shop listings today, that's the best hack. They should go do that right away. It does mean the dealership has to be more committed, because every time you create a new Google My Business, you have to put photos up there. You have to put content up there. You have to put posts and things up there. But it's not too time consuming to do those things, and the rewards are huge, right? As a dealership, now has a service page that's optimized around all the service categories.
Okay, so this goes to different pages on your website.
Well, you could have it you could have your service Google My Business link to the service page and parts and body shop and those sort of things. But really, you're expanding your real estate on Google My Business to show up more often for non-branded category searches.
Okay, so you want your entire website to show up, even though you're in a non-category.
Correct.
You're in a category, yes.
Yep, that's right. Yep. And so, there's tracking you want to do. And so if you have website links that are linking from your Google My Business to your website, you want to do what's called UTM tagging. So you want to tag those links, and then in Google Analytics, you can say, hey, how many people clicked on the post on my service page? How many people clicked on the main listing on my body shop page? And so it's all transparent. You can measure, how successful that's being for you. I
have looked at a lot of dealers Google My Business since you and I scheduled this. And what is the danger of not answering all the questions that it asks?
So very good question. So questions and answers are one of the most ignored things that you can find on Google My Business. It's really challenging. Anybody can ask and anybody can answer, right? And so you'll get people that will go up and put wisecrack questions and wisecrack answers. If the dealer doesn't address and answer those questions, then it just looks bad because it shows up on their Google My Business page. So here's a couple nice hacks you can do. What we recommend is dealers going and finding like a neighbor or an in-law or anybody without their same last name of the dealership and have them ask a few softball questions. So do you guys offer service loaners? Do you all sell certified cars? And then the dealership goes and answers. Before the dealership answers, though, they log in as their admin to Google My Business, so it shows from the owner and it looks really professional. And then you give a nice long-winded answer to that, explain really what's going on. And then once you get a few of those questions, softball questions answered, pick your favorite one, pick one you really like and you want to appear on your Google My Business front page. And if 3 people like the question, which is easy to do, just grab 3 employees and they like the question, that question will now appear on the front of their Google My Business page, which can be huge, right? Again, the number one search term for any dealer is their own name. Every time they enter the dealer's name, they're going to see that Google My Business. It's going to say, do you sell certified cars? Yes, we sure do. We're the largest Honda certified dealer in Cincinnati and down the road.
One of my favorite search terms of all time is check my engine light. Check your engine light. One of the most Google things in the world, and nobody uses it.
Yeah, you're right. That's a non-Google My Business, but that's a great kind of SEO. Action. I'm not sure how much good traffic they get, but I know of dealers that have built pages with every indicator light or every indicator warning number, for a given make model, and then they build those on the dealer website. It's a very search term.
Well, see, I think of you as the go-to guy, the master of all things Google. I look at you as the Jedi. The Jedi master. So
I'm always learning. There's plenty of great people in automotive that know this stuff too.
Well, the fact that you're always learning, the fact that you're always on top of it. I remember back in the old days when you were with Dominion, I guess it was, that you taught me about Pinterest.
That's right. I remember the Pinterest days. I wonder if you were going to bring up Pinterest.
Hey, I get a lot of SEO from Pinterest. I get a lot of people still hitting my Pinterest page every day, and some of the things that I've buried in there. So it's amazing. Tell me some more about Google My Business. What have we not covered?
So we talked about the spammy listings. So if a dealership is doing some Google My Business work and they're opening up Google Maps, they should look around their area and make sure that there's not spammy lead generators that have just kind of planted like these parasitic Google My Business listings around their listing. So for instance, on LinkedIn, I think last week, I did a post and shared a map view of a Honda dealer in New York City that had all these little parasitic Google My Business listings all around that dealership that just said, new Hondas for sale, right? It's just a spam listing, and they're just trying to drive phone calls and website visits to, some lead generation site, siphoning off traffic from the legitimate Honda dealer that was right there. And
sounds like some of the old school tricks we did years ago.
Yeah. So the dealer, it's easy to remedy. The dealership should simply go in and edit that, mark that site, mark that spammy Google My Business as potentially spam, or it's not the real name, or it's just a fraudulent listing. In the book, also in the appendix, we've got some lists of forms that you can use, the redressal form that Google will allow you to fill out and report those spammy listings. And I've done a number of them, and I get feedback from Google, hey, we changed the listing, or we removed that listing. So it's a little bit of cat and mouse, but watch your own backyard.
Well, your book, A Car Dealer's Guide to Google My Business. I mean, I don't really ever read a book from cover to cover to cover, but I did this one. I really looked through it because it's written on a level that I could understand, which I'm not a technical guy in any way, shape, or form. I can operate technology, but I can't fix it. I can drive a car, but I can't fix it. You
do great.
So anyway, A Car Dealer's Guide to Google My Business.
So another quick area that a lot of dealers don't focus on, Jim, is what's called the short name or short code. So in Twitter, how you have like at Jim Ziegler or at George Nenni in Twitter. Well, Google My Business rolled this out, I think, last year, and it's like a short code that you can customize for your Google My Business, and it's a URL. And so when you share that URL with a customer, they click on it, it takes you right to the Google My Business listing for that dealer. If you add /review to the end of that short code, now it's even more powerful. Now it takes you directly to the review section of Google My Business. So what we tell dealers, and we have some dealers that are getting 12 to 15 new 5-star Google reviews every week.
Whoa, wait a second. 5-star, how many?
Well, so here's the way you do it. You 12 to 15 per week for a good size single rooftop Chrysler dealer, for instance, in this case. So what this sales manager did was he told all the salespeople, said, look, if you want to move into the next tier level for commission, every month I need 2 Google My Business reviews. They have to be 5-star, and they have to have your name in the review. And you know what? You ask for it, you tie it to pay plans, and these salespeople do it. And all they do is they're sitting across the desk from the person. They just took ownership of the car, or took possession of the car. They're getting ready to send them into F&I, and they say, hang on a second, Jim. I'm going to run and go grab some paperwork. Do me a favor. I think I still have your phone number in my phone here. I'm going to text you a link to our Google My Business page. And if you wouldn't mind, you leaving a review and mentioning my name, that would really.
Whoa, that's gold. That's gold.
Yeah.
And even more, salesperson or the F&I manager.
Sure.
The F&I manager could definitely be the last stop on that journey. I was in one of the quick change Valvoline oil change places.
Okay.
Getting my car's oil changed a couple years ago, about 3 years ago. And when I got my oil changed, the guy says, Mr. Ziegler, do you have a cell phone? I said, well, certainly. He said, can I see it? And he pulls up his dealership's, his Valvoline Google listing, and he put me into putting a review in it while I was sitting in the car before I paid.
Nice.
I mean, I'm sitting in the lane putting in a review, and I'm thinking, why doesn't F&I do more of that?
Right. Or even service. Service has got a lot more transactions, and that becomes more difficult. But and the nice part is, Jim, like if we're doing a deal, you've been here for 2 hours, you're irritated, you're not happy. I'm probably not texting you that. I'm probably not having that conversation because I'm not sure you'll be a 5-star for me. So in some ways, you can kind of gate the reviews and try to just get more influence on the best reviews. But I tell you what, the experience is huge. When you click on that link, and I recommend texting it versus emailing it, I mean, they literally go right to the star. The stars just pull right up. I mean, you're asking somebody to do one click to give you a review. So
I get that all the time on so many businesses, and I don't see it in the car business.
Yeah, you're right.
So, we are huge Amazon shoppers. Debbie and I, every day there's an Amazon truck in our driveway delivering something we bought. And every one of those individual vendors is sending us, please review us, please, and they send me a link directly to the stars.
Yep, absolutely.
So it's one click and a comment.
That's right. And a question I get pretty often, and I'm sure some people that are watching are asking themselves, hey, I've created these additional service body shop and parts pages, but they're not showing up, you know, and they're not linking to my main sales page. George, what's going wrong? And the problem is they're too new. So when you create a brand new Google listing, don't be disappointed if it's hard to find, if you can't find it on maps or you have to zoom in. And there's a couple pieces, there's really two pieces that'll solve that problem. One, get some reviews. Two, add photos. Even though it's a relatively easy thing, just add owner photos to the listing and you'll see that listing not only start to appear, but eventually Google will nest that listing into the main listing. And so now the consumer experience is far better. They see your main listing. Oh my gosh, they've got 4 departments here. They can click on the departments. And so the experience is fantastic. But you have to be committed to adding that content or those pages just won't show.
Derek Difterhoff just asked me a question. Great info for sure. I'm not sure if you've discussed it, but how important are photos to GMB? I guess you just have said that, and he put it up about the same time.
Yeah, but by our testing and measurement, they're absolutely an influencer. We've had dealers that wasn't showing, and 3 or 4 days later, they added a bunch of photos and got a couple reviews, and boom, that listing's now up and showing.
I'll tell you, when we moved a year ago, we had a horrible experience with the mover. And I took pictures of everything they did wrong, and I titled the review "The Move from Hell."
Oh no!
You talk about service, but the photos, people commenting on the photos was incredible.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so the photos made a big difference.
And our goal for dealers with photos is get over 100, right? We want them to get over 100 owner photos. So there's 2 types of photos in Google My Business. Of course, there's the owner photos, the ones that the owner uploads, and then there's the customer photos. Search Engine Land, if you go to searchengineland.com, that's a very prominent SEO site. Earlier in 2020, they did a study and showed when a business gets over 100 owner photos, they get more than their fair share of views and clicks and activity on that page as well. And so we're always eager to get that dealer over that 100 threshold mark because studies have shown that it increases their visibility also.
100 photos.
Yep, owner photos, yep.
Owners that, interesting.
And that's easy, Jim, because most dealers have a lot of photos. They have photos that are on Facebook that aren't on their Google page. They have photos that aren't on either. We advise dealers to get a Dropbox account and then get some of their, give access to the employees and tell the employees to say, look, if you see something interesting going on, if we have an event, if we get some nice new cars in, take pictures, drag those over, throw them in the Dropbox, and then someone on the internet side, once a week or so, will go through all those photos and kind of curate and kind of pick the ones they like, upload them to Facebook, upload them to Google My Business, upload them to my service Google My Business, my body shop, and just populate those so that one person isn't responsible for all the photos. We kind of crowdsource the photo collection.
Fantastic. George, I'll tell you what, we have given people a ton of information. I'm seeing we got a pretty good audience. They're all sticking with us too. So
that's good.
I see they're ordering your book too.
That's good. It's I would if I were a dealer. I mean, there's so few things that the dealer sometimes that they're not too technical, they're not too hairy, they're really straightforward. They can do themselves and they can get really quick results from. I'll tell you a non-automotive story. So my brother Paul has a CPA firm in our hometown of Middletown. He offers payroll services. We used the GMB Spy and looked, and he didn't have that category chosen. Literally overnight, we added payroll services, and then he went to number 7, and now he's number 1 for payroll services near me. So the time it takes for Google to index around categories is like literally overnight.
So if they order GMB Spy and utilize it right now, chances are there's a category that'll elevate their SEO and move them up in the rankings almost immediately.
It could very well. Yeah. What we see is a lot of cases of Ford dealer will have one category, Ford dealer. They skipped car dealer. They skipped used car dealer. They skipped car leasing or all these other categories. They just have one category because no one's paying attention. So we advise dealers, they're number 1 for a franchise dealer. Your number 1 category should be Ford dealer, Chevy dealer. If you're a Chrysler dealer, Jeep, choose all 4, Jeep, Ram, Chrysler, Dodge dealer. And then the most important secondary categories, and these secondary categories matter, the order in which they're placed. I would do used car dealer next and then car dealer next. And my reason there is because used can be so competitive. We want to make sure the dealers has that as high ranking as possible. And then one more thing for rural dealers. So let's say that I'm the only Ford dealer for 2 hours in any direction. I would not choose Ford dealer for my primary category. I instead would choose used car dealer, then car dealer, then Ford dealer, because even if Ford dealer is the third category, they're still pulling up because they're the only Ford dealer. Google doesn't have anything else to compare against. But now they're more competitive on used car dealer searches. So playing around with the categories is definitely a way to improve your ranking.
So GMB is a tool for local search. It does everything we need to do.
That's right. That's right. I mean, there's still some situations where, it's not the end all answer to SEO. I mean, dealerships still need to make sure that their sites are built with good technical SEO. And the way I look at SEO also, sometimes you can look at analytics and we have even a Cadillac dealer one time that was just not getting their fair share of organic search. Like their organic search traffic was so low that we recommended them to evaluate some SEO providers. They did some quick work, did some technical SEO work, and suddenly they were getting their fair share. And so, I think maybe not every dealer needs SEO, but there's some dealers that absolutely do. And there's great providers out there that'll do it. But if you are paying for SEO and they're not mentioning the words Google My Business, then run the other way. I mean, anybody who's doing SEO today should be managing the dealership's Google My Business for them.
Wow. This has been really informative to this point. So
that sounds good. Hopefully not too much of a fire hose. And
no, I mean, you've given them so much information. What else do we need to talk about?
Well, so for about 50 to 70% of the dealerships across the country, they have something called products that is turned on their Google My Business. So not all dealers have products turned on, but it's a feature called products where the dealer can list each of their new make model, if they're a franchise dealer, they can list, product offerings around certified pre-owned, service offerings, parts offerings, body shop offerings. They can create these product listings that never go away. They may need to be updated. But the nice part about them, Jim, is when you're looking at Google search and you pull up your Google My Business, right below like the reviews and the phone number and the hours are your product listings, right? So this is a free opportunity to make sure that if someone's looking at your page, they know the prominent products you want to put in front of them.
Oh, now Derek Disterhoff just asked a question. I'm not sure how to answer. I'm gonna put it on the screen for you. Okay.
All right. So frequently asked questions and answers. What do you recommend for posts, frequency types, and offers? So Google posts that's a different topic. So products are static and they stay in place. Google posts are more time bound, so they might last 7 days, or you can have them run for a period of time. But Google posts are also really important. Those are little display ads that appear in your Google My Business listing, and those I don't recommend doing a lot of them all at one time because it kind of creates a carousel listing where you have to scroll through all the different the posts. You want to be more singular. Someone who's really influenced my thinking recently on posts is a guy named Greg Gifford, which a lot of people know is a SEO expert.
I love Greg Gifford.
Yep. He recently did a training or a video where he was showing the right and wrong way to do posts and which ones show varying lines of text, which one is better for different purposes. But I really like that advice he gave, which was run one post at a time, since no one's going to go through your carousel. Make sure it's a meaningful post, and then when it goes down, put another one up. And his favorite was the "What's New" posts, since they give you 3 lines of text for every post. So that was, if you haven't caught that video, that's a good one to take in also.
Absolutely amazing. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people are interested in the subject. Google My Business. It's been a subject of conversation, people talking about it, and frankly, nobody does it right. I mean, it's amazing how many dealers are misusing it, not using it. If you want to get ahead of the vendors in your listings on Google, you've got to be constantly updating, constantly on top of it.
Yep. And you should. Another nice feature of Google My Business, when you go in that admin section, just have the dealers just go to the info page, which is just the home page where you land on. No, I'm sorry, not the info page. Just go to the home page of Google My Business and read some of the listings. Google will give you a report card. So sometimes Google will say, we give you a 70%, and it will show you're missing your description. You're missing your hours. You're missing your
Wait
whatever.
a second. Google gives you a tutorial.
They'll tell you exactly the gap.
Coaches you how to make it better.
That's right. That's right. And so just, if it says 70 or it says 85, do the things it's telling you to do to get up to 100, and then you're good to go. And so, again, most of it's pretty easy work. It's pretty straightforward. You just need a good playbook or someone to guide you through it.
Well, let's get back to something you said earlier, but I want to recap it again. How does a dealer sign up as an admin? How do they make sure they own their business, they own Google My Business?
Yep. So just go to google.com, go to the front page of Google and search for your dealership name. And the Google My Business, it'll be a big rectangle on the right side of a laptop or a desktop, or it'll be the top section on a mobile phone. And you simply, it'll say own this business or manage this listing. You just click on that and it'll step you through the process. If it's not been verified before, if you're the first person to take ownership of it, they'll want to send you a postcard. And so that's easy, no big deal. They'll send you a postcard in 5 days or less with a code on it. And when you get that postcard, you log back in your Google My Business and you verify it. So you have to enter that code and then you're off to the races. You now have admin access. I advise dealerships to make sure that either the dealer owner or senior leadership person is the primary.
Yes. Yeah, you don't want your employees trucking out and having all your proprietary codes.
Absolutely. Yep. And as far as agency access, we always ask for manager. We don't want to be an owner. There's really no need for anybody to be an owner other than the dealership personnel or the person whose name's on the building. And then if you don't already have service and parts and body shop pages built out, well, then you can just create those listings. And again, we've got that all outlined in the book, how to create one from scratch. And you add your categories, add your photos. It's like making soup. You add all your ingredients to it, and pretty much, pretty soon Google starts paying attention to it and says, all right, this is legit. And then, if they see it's the same address, they'll join those together. Or you can open a support ticket and ask Google to join those listings together as department listings under your main listing.
Yeah, I wonder how many dealers actually pay attention to this. We've got an audience, and the audience is generally the technical people from the dealership. I'm wondering how many dealer principals are paying attention to what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I bet not too many at the principal level. I bet the GMs, they're hearing about it. They know it's important. If they're searching for their dealership, they've seen that listing appear, and so they know it exists. The question is how to win on it, and really how to win on it is optimize the listing, put a bunch of photos up there, make sure your categories are correct, and then drive reviews. That's really one of the biggest things you can try to do is drive reviews where people mention the service that they got. I mean, if you search for Ford Mustang brake service near me, you're going to find Google's going to rank people that have reviews that mention the brake service they got. I mean, that's one of the top signals that you can influence. And again, I'm not trying to tell people to write reviews for their customers, but dealers get asked that on occasion. Jim, I don't know. What do you want me to give you a review? I don't know. What should I write? What do you want me to put? Yeah, just tell me about the service you got. If you thought it was the best, tell me it was the best. And be long-winded. If in doubt, make the review longer so we get good keywords to have Google index in that review.
So anyway, you got a lot of scammers that are going to try to latch onto the dealer's reviews and surround that dealer with their own product.
Yeah. So the spammy listings you gotta pay attention to, and if they get out there, you gotta mark it as spam. We're hoping that Google starts paying more attention to those spammy listings and helps the overall community get rid of those. So the legitimate businesses continue to rank high. Back at another time
when classified ads in the newspaper were ruled, people put classified ads in for a late model Buick or a late model Porsche or whatever. And I would run a double reverse, a black background with a white text, just a phone number and a website. That's all, half an inch. And I'd run 100 of those in the classifieds because it looked like the bottom of the ad above it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's smart. Yeah.
And people want to buy that car would call my dealership. So same principle.
Yeah.
George, this has been a lot of fun. What else can we talk about?
Well, you just triggered another best practice I've seen some dealers do. So, Derek asked about Google Posts, and Google Posts and the Google product listings kind of look similar. But what we've seen dealers do with either if they have products turned on, they'll use it for that. If not, use Google Posts. But instead of like putting a picture of a service or a coupon or an offering, they turn it into a button. So they reverse out just like what you were saying, and they'll have a big button that will say schedule service or value my trade. And so the value my trade button would go to like a trade pending or an Edmunds trade-in tool. The other schedule service. The consumer doesn't know. I guess that's a button. It takes them right to the X time service scheduling or whatever they're using. And so you don't have to think of them necessarily as ads and display ads. Treat them like a big reversed out button. Make it real visible.
I serve you up such softballs.
You did.
Okay, George Jones on the screen.
Yeah, so great point. So George is saying here, Google My Business is only part of a larger SEO strategy, which I would agree. It's impacted primarily by proximity, prominence, and relevance. So proximity, if I'm in Cincinnati and I want to score against a Ford dealer in Los Angeles, that's not going to happen, right? I'm not going to, because proximity is incredibly important. It's all about local search. Prominence is in terms of, I would say, reviews, and there are lots of reviews and a high review rating, right? And so when you see listings outperform other listings, all things being equal, the winning business will have 4.9 stars and 300 reviews, whatever it is. And so that's all part of that prominence. And then relevance is categories, is keywords and reviews, all those other things we talked about, making sure that you're relevant for those keywords, you're in the market, you have proximity, and you have the prominence, the respect in the community by having high star ratings.
Fantastic. George, I think we have covered about every part that we can cover in this particular broadcast.
That's a lot. Gives them a lot to work on. Yeah.
A lot of people, we just fed them with a fire hose. I mean, I'm telling you. So anyway, this is George Nenni from Generations Digital. Now, his book, let's take a look one more time. A Car Dealer's Guide to Google My Business. You can find that on Amazon.com. And I'm going to tell you, if you do nothing else as a result of this broadcast, buy the book. And by the way, George and I have no financial arrangements. I'm not being paid for this broadcast. On occasions, I am paid, but I will always tell you in advance if I am. I'm not paid for this broadcast. There's no financial arrangement between us.
And you're a good friend, Jim. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, no problem. I mean, sometimes I have financial arrangements with people that I have on these broadcasts, but I will always tell you. I'll never keep that a secret. Okay, so George, A Car Dealer's Guide to Google My Business. There was a porno site one time called Goggle.com. Google finally got that squashed.
Yeah, quickly.
Goggle.com. Okay. And anyway, have a pleasant day, George. This has been absolutely informative, and I think we got a lot out of it. We've had some good people watching it, and we'll get quite a bit more. Susan Nenni Clark, you know her?
Yes, that's my wonderful sister who works with us in the business, and she's an analytical whiz, and she when we go out and consult with dealers, she's writing up a lot of the reports and doing a lot of the analysis, and so she's I'm the youngest of 7, and so there's 6 boys and 1 girl, so she's also been toughened by been right in the middle.
Big families running your family, don't they?
Right.
George, so glad to be your friend, and thank you for this broadcast.
Thank you, Jim. Very